All right, about vintage. Can you guess what kind of watches they make? Yeah, vintage inspired watches. The name brand is a little on the nose, but they've been around since 2017, though I really only heard about them in the past 2 years or so. They are a new brand to me in the sense that I wasn't overly familiar with them, and thus I had to do a decent amount of research about this brand. They have a lot of models in different styles available, and they hail out of Denmark and tout that the watches are Scandinavian style. This 1926 at-sea diver, yes, that's what it is called, is of course a vintage style dive watch, a style of watch we have seen by countless micro brands at this point, but the overall case design is pleasing, though the dial, well, more on that in a minute. The at-sea comes in three different sizes, 36, 39 millimeter, and 42 millimeter, and I have the 42 millimeter in hand today, and the price starts at $379 for this smooth sweep quartz version. So let's talk about case sizes first, as all of the sizes are not available in every version. Actually, it seems that the three sizes are only available in either this black dial or a green dial version, and most of the models are only available in 39 millimeter and only a few in 42 millimeter. It's a little odd in my opinion, as if you're making the same case design in multiple sizes, why not offer it in all colorways? There are countless dial and bezel colors as well as PVD, two-tone, and gold-plated versions, so you're going to want to check them out on their site. Also, there is a 1926 at-sea automatic model, but those are not the same one as this. They have different hands, crown, and bezel, among other differences. More options are available as well, depending on what strap or bracelet you want. All of them are available with a choice of either a 5-link or a 3-link bracelet as standard, and then you can add a second bracelet or strap. So if you click on one and it has a 3-link bracelet, you can add a 5-link bracelet, or any of the multitude of leather or NATO straps, rubber, or even a mesh bracelet. Now with all these options, it can get confusing, but I will say price-wise, at least on paper, getting 2 bracelets if you want that have quick-release pins for $399, which is the price for the 39 millimeter or the 42 millimeter version, that is a pretty good value. But then we need to look closer and see what you are actually getting. The case design is familiar, vintage style diver, no crown guards, large crown, polished case size and brushed top, and an aluminum bezel insert, and the bezel is 120 clicks, though I will say the feeling of the bezel in general isn't great. It is easy to turn, but it gets knocked out of place easily and has more play in it than I would like. The crown, same thing as the bezel. It's easy to grip, but it doesn't always catch properly when screwing down. I haven't had a real issue, but not sure how it will be long term, especially if you're like me, where you don't use a winder and are setting the time often. Now, about this being quartz, I think many know I do not have an issue with quartz watches as others do. And to be honest, I did not check out the specs beforehand, and I didn't realize it was a smooth, sweeping quartz until it arrived. Of course, this watch can be cross-shopped among other watches, just like any other. But when I think of quartz divers, I immediately think of Scurfa. If you go with the stainless steel version of the Diver 1 and you select a bracelet, you are looking at around $260. And I think even if you go titanium, you're still under $400. That's a standard quartz. I believe it's a 715 Ronda, and that has a 5-year battery. This Seiko VH31 has a 2-year battery, so you'll need to change it out sooner. Scurfa, in my opinion as well, makes a very robust watch. But let's get back to this about vintage and move on to the dial. Now, the dial's okay, and I'm sure some will love it, but it all feels a little disjointed to me. The mix of the applied and sandwich indices is a little strange. You can see that the 12 and 6 are actually sandwiched, and maybe I should say instead of strange, it's quirky, but I get that they were trying to do something different. The logo at the top of the dial, I have searched to see what that signifies, and I cannot come up with anything. Let me know if you know what the symbol is and if it has any significance. And of course, then we get to all that text at the bottom of the dial. I just think it could be cleaned up, and I'm not sure why by Scove Anderson needs to be on the dial. That is the combined name of the two owners, and I think it could have been saved for the caseback. Let me know what you think of the dial overall down in the comment section. Is it fine as is or a little too busy? Above the dial is a domed sapphire crystal, and I like a good box domed sapphire. I just don't feel it fits this exact style of watch for some reason. It also does cause that distortion on the edges of the dial, which is normal for this type of crystal, so not really a complaint. Oh, and if you're wondering what's with 1926, well, About Vintage names their watch models after important years in watchmaking, and 1926 is of course the year Rolex debuted the first waterproof and dustproof watch, as they called it. And one more thing about this dial, and that is the lume, which quite frankly is poor. No other way to say it. And I'm not going to spend a long time on it. You can see it here in the video. It's grainy, it's not very bright, and if you want a good watch in the dark, this is just not it. Now, I feel overall case finishing is fine. Nothing that really sticks out that I would say is bad, and it's definitely in line with the $400 price tag. The 3-link bracelet, on the other hand, it looks fine on the outside, but the inside finishing has that large grain, just not the smooth brushing I expected, and it reminds me of a Fossil watch from the 90s. The links are held together with standard friction pins, and for some reason, it's already sized, I guess, and it comes with 4 extra links. So it was barely just able to fit on my 7.5-inch or 19.05 centimeter wrist out of the box. And then there was 4 extra links. So if you're somebody that has an 8-inch wrist or bigger, this is going to be good for you. You're going to have extra links and not have to reach out to the manufacturer. Removing it is easy though, and I chose to have the second strap be this meat tenderizer silicone strap, as I call it. It is in green, and this is not a bad strap at all, and the way I personally prefer to wear this piece. The bracelet on the wrist, it wears just fine, and it does feel comfortable, but notice those male end links, which will make this wear larger on the wrist, so if you're someone with small wrists, keep that in mind. Now, About Vintage seems to be popular, and as I said, they have a lot of models available, but there is no end to vintage style watches these days, especially divers, and I find this one to be a decent example, but I'd like to see the bezel and crown action improved, as well as the lume and bracelet finishing. What are your thoughts though? Do you own one? Give me your feedback from ownership. Have you been looking at one recently and have more questions or something I didn't cover here? Whatever it is, I want to hear from you, so sound off in the comments down below. All links are in the description, including a link to a written article, as well as our social media links if you want to keep up with us in between reviews. This is Don Evans from Watch Report. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.